This is Liz Colburn, host of The Morning Uplift. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
What's up, everybody? This is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Press Row, where we talk about the biggest issues in sports with the analysts, experts, and reporters who cover them. No nonsense, hard-hitting interviews on the sports topics you're talking about. A new show comes out every single Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Press Row. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Good? Okay, great. My phone will not stop. However, it's Friday, therefore hashtag No Filter Friday on Public House Media. We are behind, what? We have a beverage, so, it's better than nothing. It could be worse. And today we are going to talk about the crimes and punishment of Dr. Larry Nassar, the disgraced Olympic gymnast doctor that has been now sentenced to 175 years in prison here on Public House Media. I'm going to share this broadcast really, really fast if I can and get it going. This doesn't look how it normally does. Oh, well. This is how we're going, I suppose. How we're going is however we're going. Maybe I can share it from my phone. Maybe if my phone will stop pinging, I can get something done today. Possibly, maybe, I don't know. Let us see if I can't share it. Because if I could, that would be great, because I feel like my eyebrows are on point today, and why not? Why not share it? Why not bring the fun to life with everyone else? I'm so happy to have my hashtag No Filter Friday mug that I made full of snarky tea, because there's going to be a lot of snark this evening. To be fair, there's a lot of snark most evenings, but this evening I think there's going to be more. Not that Larry Nassar is a bit of an offshoot from the hashtag No Filter Friday format, because it's not super Hollywood, but considering how that the Fierce Five gymnasts are involved, Ali Rasmussen, Simone Biles, Gabby Douglas, those girls, we're going to talk about it, and it's going to set, in my opinion, this case, now that he's actually been sentenced in Ingham County, Michigan, and all of the press and fanfare that's surrounding it, I think it's going to be a precedent case. And you're kidding. It will be a miracle if I can get through this show tonight. It will be an absolute miracle. I tell you what. Anyway, so in my opinion, it will be a downright miracle if, I'm able to do this at all without being interrupted about 175 times. So, with that being said, let's see if we can't find this. We all knew that the sentencing of Larry Nassar was not going to be pretty after he sent a letter to the judge, which defendants can do with or without their attorney's permission. I'm sure his attorney told him not to do it, but he did it anyway. Stating that hearing all of the girls' testimonies individually was just too much for him to emotionally bear, and he couldn't handle it anymore. To which there's now a beautiful GIF of the judge. Judge Angela? Is that how you say her name? Throwing the letter. She just throws it. The gif is gorgeous. Everybody loves it. Okay, great. I can share the broadcast. Right post. So that happened, and then even more girls spoke, and it became this thing where the media was just eating it, and they were eating it in like a negative and positive way. By some crazy standard, the judge was considered mean and crossed a line, according to some publications. And it's like, you know what? Can we stay on topic of who's crossing lines? Like, how is a man who has sexually assaulted 140 girls, most of them were underage, some of them were grown, but the overwhelming majority were underage. How on earth are we going to sidestep all of that and be like, oh, the judge was mean? She allowed him to live. So that was, I mean, certainly more mercy than anybody owed him. So why not? That's, I mean, any kindness that he was owed. I mean, there's not a capacity for kindness from a judge. Like, there just isn't. Like, nowhere in there does it say, oh, the judge has to be super nice to you. It doesn't matter what you've done. Like, literally doesn't say that anywhere. Like, nowhere. So she said that it was her honor and pleasure to sentence him to 40 to 175 years in prison, and that she signed his death warrant. I understand how some people be like, wow, saying that you signed this person's death warrant is kind of intense, but it's the truth of the matter. Like, this guy's not going to survive prison. It's a shame that he's not going to be in Wayne County jail at all. He'll go straight to a real prison because of how long his sentence is, and he will rot and die there. But when you think about it, he was going to die in prison anyway because of the time. He's not a spring chicken, so 40 to 175 years. Like, he's not Dumbledore. He's going to die in there at some point. But really, the reality of the situation is that the inmates are going to take care of him probably long before that happens. Depending on which prison he goes to, which I think will be an interesting topic. And maybe... Oh, thank you for asking, David. Okay, so the Nassar trial is in Michigan, and if you get locked up for a year or less, you go to jail, which is, depending on where you got in trouble, that county's jail. If you're sentenced to over a year, you're going to a prison, a penitentiary, a correctional facility. A minimum security, was something that you would see on Orange is the New Black. Wayne County Jail is the worst of the worst. Detroit, Michigan is the 28th most dangerous city in the world. It's in the world. That's including third world nations, like places like Brazil that have Sao Paulo, places in the pits of Africa that have more violence and poverty than anybody else has seen. Terrible. It's a gross, terrible place. So Wayne County is chock full of the most violent, ratchet, nasty, awful, awful, awful people that you can imagine. They use it a lot in like Scared Straight and things like that. They'll take juveniles there to be like, if you don't knock this off, you're going to hang out with this guy. He murdered someone by shoving a hot curling iron up their behind, and then they died. Like, it's things like that. If that answers your question. If it doesn't answer your question, I encourage you to Google it and see if you can find some stories about it, because they are crazy. So I keep saying that I'm disappointed that he's not going to Wayne County Jail, because they would certainly rearrange him and then finish him without haste and, no waste of taxpayer dollars. Oh, Sean Menzies here. Hello, Sean Menzies. Thanks for coming by. Do you like I made this myself. My hashtag No Filter Friday mug. This is me. And if you look at the bottom of it, it says Public House Media. I'm very proud of my mug. I'm very, very proud of it. So, Mr. Nassar. I think Allie Rasmussen, like, really kind of did him in because she gave this, like, all the girls had 40 minutes to testify and tell their tale. And she really, really nailed it. I don't have coffee because I don't drink coffee. I have snarky tea for drinking your feelings because I am, in fact, drinking his feelings. Yeah, exactly. It has a brass knuckle handle. That's why it's so perfect for #NoFilterFriday. She really killed it in her speech. It's quite long because, you know, she took some time to deliver it. But essentially she talked about repentance and forgiveness and the relationship with those two things, and how his letter to the judge was essentially one of these things like, I can't handle this emotionally, listening to all these people, you know, I did do these things because he's on a plea deal. That's why it was like a 40 to 175. He is on a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to this many counts, when in reality, he was able to be charged for like this many counts. There was 140 girls that came out against him, and he was really actually only charged as a part of his plea bargain for a fraction of them. So during this hoopla, with, you know, this letter to the judge business, they did, he keeps telling them about how he's done other amazing things and blah, 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 blah. And, oh, thank you, Sean. Thank you for coming by. How he's done other great things in his life and this, that, and the other thing. And she's like, in Allie Rasmussen's testimony, etc., her open letter, I guess you could say, because now the press has a hold of it, she talked about how he's not actually repentant of what he did. He's just sorry that he got caught, which is true. And he would just keep on doing it. But the interesting thing here is that, how can I say this? The interesting thing here is this is going to be part of the chain reaction domino effect, because over time, oh, hello, Philippe Santana. Over time, the USA Gymnastics, which is the oversight committee for people hiring people like Dr. Larry Nassar to be on their medical team or what have you, plus MSU as an institution, they were told by several people, hey, this guy needs to be looked into, something's not right here. And they either did nothing, which is kind of the least of it, or were like, whatever, we don't care. Or in the worst case scenarios, told certain girls, he's actually a really great doctor and you should be grateful that you're under his care, which is part of the manipulation of this whole thing. He was abusing his power position and the fact that he was treating people for these, you know, obscure sports-related injuries. And they were just supposed to, you know, take it and pay the bill. To me, that's the worst part of it. It's like, you've been manipulated, you've been abused, and then the man sends you a bill? Heaven forbid you got an HMO. I mean, you have to pay this guy to molest your children? Like, my God. But at the same time, their medical bills that are, you know, dated and timed and things like that really, really helped their case because they didn't really have DNA evidence. It was just them telling their story. And their story was corroborated by said medical bills that had, you know, dates and times of their visits with him spanning over the course of years. Like, there was a few girls that had been molested by them for, like, literally half their lives. So, in the words of Kim Kardashian, save your receipts, because you never know when they're going to come in handy. Like, could you imagine having a daughter and that's a gymnast or, some sort of athlete, and she ends up with some obscure injury, and you take her to this doctor because that's where you're told to take her, and he's, the end all be all and your only hope to get out from underneath this injury. And he takes your child, molests them repeatedly, sends you a bill, and then either USA Gymnastics, MSU, etc. tells you, you should be happy. You should be happy with the care that you're getting. And it's not right. It's absolutely not right. Like, it's horrifying what this guy did. I literally cannot with my phone right now. I can't. So, back on topic. 140 girls later, they're now grown adult women are like having a Brutus and Caesar moment, and they're taking him down en masse to the tune of 40 to 175 years. So he's going to die in prison one way or another. But the media controversy surrounding this judge for being mean to him is one of the most obscure things I've ever seen in my entire life, especially when, like, we have so many court shows that do so well. Like, Judge Judy makes $90 million a year doing the same or worse to people whose cases, frankly, are arbitrary. They're fighting about rent or car payments or what have you, all small claim stuff. And we're all out here using Judge Judy memes every day. Like, my entire life feels like a Judge Judy meme. Like, I'm constantly doing this, like, constantly, a la Judge Judy. And if you've ever been to court before, you'll know that you wish the judge would get some Judge Judy in him and be like, okay, let's get this going. Let's snap to it. Quit dicking around. But she's mean. She's mean. If you've ever been to court before, you will know that their time is extremely limited. And the fact that that judge let every single girl who wanted it have 40 minutes to not only tell their story for the record, but also confront him as a predator is unparalleled. And anybody that is a survivor of any kind of sex crime will tell you that if they do want to talk about it, most of them don't, but some of them do, that they go their whole lives holding in what they would say to this person, what they would do to this person. And they never get it. Most of the time, if you do, as a sex crime plaintiff, we'll say, if you do get to take the stand and tell your story, you end up get drugged through the mud, drugged through the legal system, drugged through the court system, and you're the one that ends up on trial for what for your choices and what, so, and even children, like, there's been several cases of horrific molest of tiny little minors, and the defense will be like, well, oh, what was she wearing? Or, well, why were they alone with this person? And it's like, are you serious? Are you joking? So the fact that they had the support amongst themselves. Oh, Julie's here. Hi, Julie. The support amongst themselves and the support from the court system and the support from, the media and the viewers at home is a really, really rare thing up until now. And it's going to be a change. It's going to change the game with all of these sexual assaults, rape, misconduct, allegations and cases like swirling around, newsworthy folks. Like, can you imagine going your whole life, working towards this goal, and you want to be an Olympic athlete so bad? It's like it's every ounce of your being. I have a friend that was an Olympic gymnast a few years ago, and she's an incredibly talented, amazing girl. Her name's, never mind, I'll leave her out of it. But She's an incredibly talented person. Anything she wants to do, she goes out and does it in spades. And she will freely admit, up one side and down the other, and tell you about it, that making the USA gymnastics team is the hardest thing she's ever done in her life. So the amount of work that it takes to get there without being molested by this person who's supposed to be caring for you, who's supposed to be looking out for your body, but they're looking out for their own body, is disgusting. And if you don't know, I will really, you should just read their stories or even just gloss over it. But essentially what he was doing to children, to small girls and up, was to be like, oh, you need an adjustment. And without a glove on, was adjusting them with his hand with an erection. How disgusting is that? I mean, like, oh, you should be grateful for my care bills in the mail. See the receptionist on your way out. It's like, what? What? And when you're talking about such small children, like, they don't know what's what. They have no idea. They have no idea. They just have adults in their lives telling them what to do. They have no autonomy, no agency whatsoever when they're that young to know which way is up or down. And it's absolutely awful. It's so disgusting. I can't even think about it. It's horrible. Like, what are we supposed to do with people like this? And really, too, it makes you wonder. It's like, he's not the only one. He's a pretty, like, severe case, and it's got a lot of hype around it because of the girls involved and, you know, his position within medicine and professional sports and things of that. And, well, being in the Olympics is kind of, like, higher than being a professional athlete, I think, because there's tons of professional athletes in comparison to the amount of Olympians that there are, let alone people that medal. So I'm curious to see if these plays that they're making to implicate USA Gymnastics and MSU into knowing about what he was doing and letting it go or not doing anything about it, however, not doing the right thing, however it is that they neglected their duty, and how those dominoes are going to fall, because I have Diet's here. Hello, Diet. I have a sneaking suspicion that it is going to be the first of many of institutions that are going to be, institutions, businesses, whatever, that are going to be implicated in the crimes of their employees because they have such a clear present case on this. And Weinstein kind of was able to squeak by when it leaked to the press that it was in Harvey Weinstein's contract with the Weinstein Company that he could behave how he wanted so long as he paid the damages, was the final blow, the nail in the coffin of the Weinstein Company. Like, they'll never come back from that. Oh, hey, Jilly, let me read your comment. I agree. Listen, in my opinion, if you hurt children, done, over with. If it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt that you have harmed a child willfully and maliciously, I'm personally done with you. I don't know why any of us need to pay for your existence with our tax dollars. I really don't. Like, there's so many other things and other people that could be using those allocated funds that are, we pay for it because we have to, and if we don't, we'll go to prison with them. So many other things that we could be using that for besides housing rapists and pedophiles in prison for the rest of their lives. It's just it fiscally doesn't make any sense to me. And the inmates are just going to murder them anyway, so why don't we just cut to the chase, yo? Just saying. I mean, Why? For what? Like, why are we even entertaining the thought of this? It's just disgusting. If you look into, like, the layers of manipulation that this guy was going through to abuse these girls and not only keep a professional job abusing, he's literally a professional abuser. He was getting paid to do this. Like, he wasn't, lurking around schools with a free candy van in his spare time. Like, this is what he was. He was a career abuser. He was a lifelong career sexual predator, and he was making a fat paycheck to do it. Like, I don't know how much more disgusting it gets, truly. And if you can't, like, it just makes me wonder, like, did he go to medical school, like, with this intention? Like, when he finished his undergrad and he was filling out his applications to go to medical school and his applications for residency and things like that, was he like, this application's super long and strenuous, but you know what? Once I get my license, have all these children to abuse, it'll be great. Like, how far down the rabbit hole does it go? Because it's, there's 140 girls that have come out against him, which is a literal army. It's probably a small nation, who knows? And there's more. There's always more, because as soon as, I've been around the world interviewing survivors of sex crimes and gender-based violence. Every single one of them. I always asked, either on the record or off, depending on their situation, if they knew anyone else that had been wronged in some way by that person. And every single one of them said yes. Even if it was, some of them were like, yeah, I've had X amount of people contact me verbatim and be like, this person did this to me. Once you said something, I said something too. Or they were like, yeah, I, unofficially heard that the exact same thing happened to another person by the same person that did it to me. And it's really, really disgusting, because once they get away with it once, they're empowered and they do it again and they do it again and they do it again. And then when you combine that just empowerment of getting away with it, and this is somebody that's what they get off on. Like, they literally get off on the power of it, the taking advantage of another person and putting them under their thumb. You take that with a position that allows them to keep moving up the ladder and keep getting better and better and better about it. What is this? I'm going to throw my phone away. Like, no joke. No joke. I'm throwing my phone away. I'm over it. I can't stand it. I can't do it anymore. So thank you for, my evening. I can't get it together. So if you have any questions, next week is, what's coming out next week? It's so hard to keep this together. Like, last week we touched on, like, all of the things that were happening, and all of them have developed. I knew that the whole Larry Nassar situation was going to take an entire show to unpack, but last week he was not sentenced yet, and that was the piece de resistance in the whole thing. So we can't not talk about it this week, because A, it's horrifying, and B, it deserves its own moment. So next week we were going to get back on track with Hollywood sexual misconduct. We're going to rein it back in. Last week was totally off the rails. This week is kind of goofy. Next week we're committing to being back on track for hashtag No Filter Friday here on Public House Media. If you have questions, send them to me. If you have suggestions, comments, concerns, a haiku, I don't know. I don't care. Send it to my inbox. I'll get it. Comment, whatever. Just send it to me. Just find a way to send it to me. Whether it's on the Public House Media page or my own personal page, my fan page, my Twitter, any of my Instagrams, because now I have lots. Where else? That's good. That's LinkedIn. Plenty of places to be able to reach me at. So, thank you for joining me for #NoFilter Friday on Public House Media. I will see you next week on time at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time here, or if you miss it, you can also catch it as a podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartMedia. We're now in iHeartRadio. We're now in iHeartRadio. So see you later, kids. Thanks for joining.